أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Chapter 40, verses 43 to end. Okay, tonight. Okay, go ahead, please, Mom.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Without a doubt, you are indeed inviting me to what is neither worthy of calling upon in this world nor in the hereafter. And surely our return will be to God, and indeed the transgressors will be the dwellers of hell. You will soon remember what I am telling you, and I leave my deed to God. Indeed, God is seer of his servants. Therefore, God saved him from their evil schemes, while the people of Pharaoh have deserved the worst suffering. Hell will be shown to them day and night, and the day the hour is struck, let the people of Pharaoh endure the ultimate suffering. As they argue in hell, the followers say to the arrogant leaders, we indeed used to obey you. Therefore, can you relieve from us any part of hell? The arrogant leaders say, we are all indeed in it together. God has surely judged amongst his servants. Those in hell say to the guardians of Gehenna, call upon your Lord to reduce the suffering for us just by a day. They say, did you not receive messengers with proofs? They will say, yes. They will then say, go ahead and call. The calling of the unfaithful is in vain. We will most assuredly give victory to our messengers and those who attain faith in this worldly life, and on the day when the witnesses are brought forth. That is the day when the apology of the unjust will not benefit them, and they have deserved damnation, and reserved for them is the worst abode. And we indeed gave Moses the guidance, and we let the children of Israel inherit the scripture, a guide and a reminder to those who possess vision. You shall therefore wait, for indeed God's promise is the truth, and you shall ask forgiveness for your sins, and glorify and praise your Lord night and day. Those who argue about God's signs without any proof have nothing in their chest except arrogance, that they are not even aware of it. You shall therefore seek refuge in God. Indeed, he is the all-hearer, the all-seer. Indeed, the creation of the vacua and matter is greater than the creation of the human being, but most people do not know. And the blind and the seer are not equal, nor are those who attained faith and lead a righteous life, and the evildoers. Only a few take heed. The hour is surely coming. There is no doubt about it. However, most people do not believe. And your Lord said, call upon me. I will respond to you. Indeed, those who are too arrogant to worship me will enter Gehenna forcibly. God is the one who made the night for you to rest therein, and the day bright. Indeed, God possesses generosity for the people, but most people are not appreciative. Such is God, your Lord, creator of all things. There is no God except he. How can you then deviate? Thus deviated those who argued about God's signs. God is the one who made the land habitable for you, and the vacuum a structure. And he designed you and made it the most beautiful design, and he provided for you from the clean things. Such is God, your Lord. Therefore, glory to God, Lord of the multiverse. He is the living. There is no God except he. Therefore, call upon him, devoting the religion purely to him. Praise God, Lord of the multiverse. Say, I have indeed been enjoined from worshiping those whom you call upon besides God. Once I received proofs from my Lord, and I was enjoined to enter in peace with the Lord of the multiverse. He is the one who created you from clay, then from semen, then from a hanging. Then he brings you out as an infant. Then you reach maturity, then you get old. While some of you die before that, some reach a specific interim that you may use your intelligence. He is the one who grants life and death. As a consequence, once he wills to fulfill any task, then he only says to it, be, and it is. Do you not see those who dispute regarding God's signs have totally deviated? Those who reject the scripture and the message that we sent our messengers with, they will soon find out, once shackles are placed around their necks, as well as chains with which they are dragged into the inferno, then they will be burned in hell. Then they will be asked, where are those partners whom you set up besides God? They will say, they have abandoned us as though we never called upon them for anything. God thus sends the unfaithful astray. That is because you rejoiced on the land with other than the truth, and you used to blunder. Enter the gates of Gehenna to abide therein forever. What a miserable abode for the arrogant. You shall therefore be patient, for indeed God's promise is true. Then whether we show you some of what we have promised to them or terminate your life, to us they will all return. And we indeed sent messengers before you. Some we narrated to you their history, and some we did not narrate to you. And there is not a single messenger who can produce a sign without God's permission. And once God's command is issued and the truth has prevailed, the falsifiers shall perish. God is the one who made the livestock for you to ride on and eat therefrom, and there are benefits for you in them, and that you may fulfill your needs through them, and on the ships you are carried. And he continues to show you his signs. Therefore, which of God's signs can you deny? Do they not travel throughout the land and see what the consequences for those before them were? They were greater in number and were more powerful and left a greater legacy on the land. However, their earnings never enriched them. But when their messengers went to them with proofs, they rejoiced in the knowledge they already had, and the very thing they ridiculed came back to haunt them. And once they saw our might, they said, we believe in God alone and reject what we used to set up as partners for him. However, their belief will not benefit them, and once they see our might, however, their belief will not benefit them once they see our might. Such is God's system with which he deals with his servants, and the unfaithful shall end up losers.
Thank you, mashallah. Very good. Very good. Okay, very good. Back to where we started. Are there any comments, any observations, any questions?
Sir, yes.
Yes.
On 63 or 64, I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
When he's talking about the most beautiful design, he's talking about the soul, not this physical body we have now, right?
Also the physical body too, as well. Yes.
Ooh,
yes.
That scares me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, you got to look at it this way. The way I look at it is that every design of a human body is unique. And this goes on for everything. Everything that he designs is unique for individuals, for everything that we have around us. Everything is unique. There are no two like objects. And that's the beauty of creation. That, there's variations and the differences that we have, and people do not see it that way. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And but that goes on for everything, and the way that God has created our body is just mind-boggling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Welcome, salam. Yes, Shakara. Go ahead, please. Is that you, Shakara? I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I'm sorry. Okay, Miriam, go ahead, please. Yeah.
No problem. So the verse 45, 46, I get. Yeah, it's 46 actually. Hell will be shown to them day and night, and the day the hour is struck, that the people of Pharaoh endure the ultimate suffering. So, if my understanding is correct from the Quran, based on other verses, the hell will be brought up, on the day of judgment. So it's not and we also know that there are other verses in the Quran that says, and when they wake up on the day of resurrection, as if it says as if they spent like a few hours, 1 hour, and then, which means when they wake up, the notion of time for them, they would not know how long they've been in a state of death, something like that. So, so how would you reconcile with this verse? Can you share your understanding in the light of the other verses?
There is no reconciliation here. It's very clear what it says, okay? These people are already in grave. Obviously, the people of Pharaoh, they're dead. Okay, they're not here. So this is the story of 3,700 years ago, and these people are dead. And so it says, النار يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا ويوم تقوم الساعة وأدخلوا آل فرعون أشد العذاب. Okay, so hell will be shown to them day and night. So this is a preview of what's going to happen. It's like a continuous nightmare. Okay, we really do not know how bad death is, but death is not a very good state of existence. Okay, so these guys are dead again, and so they go through this nightmare, this continuous nightmare, the entire time. And then when the hour is struck, they have to be resurrected now. So God has given them another life, but that life is even worse than the death that they had. Okay, and you know that some of these people, they say, "I wish my death was eternal." So it's so bad that they want to really be dead the way that they were before. But it's not going to work that way. And so at that time, that they physically are going to enter into the Ashad al-Azab, which means that the ultimate suffering.
So I get that. When I said reconciling is in a sense, I'm trying to make sense of the verse that says, and on the day of the resurrection, that's when hell will be brought up.
Yes, so, this is just a preview. The dream is, you see? Yeah. And nar yuraduna alayha, okay, will be shown to them, okay? Ghuduwan wa ashiya, day and night. So as day and night goes on for us, God is describing it for us, okay? For those people, it doesn't exist, obviously, for the dead people. But now this state of existence is a continuous nightmare, and that God is describing to us who are reading the Quran. They're not reading this, obviously. We are reading it. So it's a continuous nightmare, and it's not going to go away until the hour is struck.
So it's some sort of a vision. The creation itself.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay.
As I said, it's just a preview of what's going to happen to them. Okay, so. Yeah.
A preview, yes. So which means in their state of death that. Might not comprehend fully. They are having this vision, or something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Salam alaikum, Ali.
Alaikum salam. Yes, Tasneem, go ahead, please.
And the concept of time also is different, right? It's not like
of course.
It could be the following. It could be like the following day. The day of judgment, not 5,000
God is
years.
not talking to them, Tasneem. God is not talking to them. God is talking to us in this verse. So he's telling us the things that we understand. Okay, Ghuduwan wa ashiya. Okay, it's going to be day and night. That's what he's saying for us. And the day that the hour is struck, okay, admit the all of Pharaoh, the people of Pharaoh, Ashad al-Adab, the ultimate suffering. Okay? So that's the reality is going to come. But, I mean, we really don't know how bad death is because we can't remember the time that we were dead before we came here, you see? So when we made that mistake, we all put to death, all of us. So that's what God says. The believers would not taste the second death. They only remember the first death that they had. So it's a very unpleasant state of existence. Death is. And so in this case, death was continuous nightmare for these folks.
Yeah, my question was that, like, if someone died 3,000 years ago, they are not. Is it like that 3,000 years they are getting those nightmares, or the time is such that it's different? Not 3,000 years of suffering. I mean,
I don't know what it is. But it's a very unpleasant way of existence. Okay,
yes.
That's what God is saying in this verse. Yeah, it's not pleasant. Okay, so
it can't be pleasant like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, sure. Okay, anything else?
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam. Yes, go ahead, please.
Is the verse 4084?
4084. Yes,
yeah.
Very good.
And
okay.
Actually, we read in the last week, we read about the verses that says, and worship God, wa'budullah mukhlisin. So
yes.
Purely or something like that, and him, God alone. So here it's repeated again, but the good thing is that, because a lot of people, they say, we believe in one God and we worship one God, but actually God gives us more actually information in this verse. Then once they saw our might, they say we believe in God alone and reject what we used to set up as partner for him. It looks like that is all of a sudden they are conscious of even though they were always claiming worshiping God alone, but all of a sudden they realize what is actually that they were committing as a shirk. So and the verse that comes right after, the verse 85, I want to just bring to attention in the Quran, not only in this verse, God talk about sunnata Allah. So the sunnah of God, there is no sunnah of prophets or any. There is only one system, and that's God's system, and it's far from whatever human or man system we come up with. So I want to just ask to, and God talks about the losers. So the losers is basically anybody who believes in another system than God's system and still calls it God's, the prophet system or something. I just wonder sometimes what kind of Quran that they read, but it's pretty much clear here. So I want us just to remember the importance of worshiping God alone. So, thank you.
Well, I mean, we do not, as I said, when we read the Quran, we really do not pay too much attention to what God is saying, okay? And that is the problem. I mean, I read, today I read 30, 27 and all of those verses that we read today, and verse 21, 30 and all those verses. And, we really didn't pay any attention, okay, what God is saying. And so putting that into the knowledge that we have today that God has given us, and as I said, He has entrusted us with this universe that we are in, with the time that we are in. And so we have to take full advantage of this. We cannot be ignorant. Okay?
Yeah.
So I talked about how much water there is in the universe. And so when God says that even if you do this, all of these stuff is going to be not enough, okay, to even, abrogate God's words or supersede God's words. So God has more words than that. This is amazing, okay? And so when we think about it, when we think about this entire thing, when we put the Quran together, and we talked about Solomon, who was taught the language of the birds, and he also understood the ants when they were talking, okay? So all of these things we do not understand, okay? But obviously God is speaking to entire creation that he has. Now this is the stuff that are living, actually. Okay, these are the living creatures. And now there are other things, set of existences that we don't even consider, but they have a collective consciousness.
Right.
And that collective consciousness is, they have a language, they talk to their creator, and God is talking to them. So look at all of these words. Look at all of the stuff that we see and we do not see, because that's what God says. I swear by what you see and what you do not see.
You do not see.
Okay.
No.
This is amazing. Okay, so, and then God says he creates what you do not know. So the vastness of creation is absolutely mind-boggling, and we have seen that. We've seen from the exponent of the 36 Mersenne prime. Okay, those large numbers, 800,000 plus digits. Yeah, I talked about 1,281 digits today, and 800 and some number, 800,000. Okay, this is amazing. It boggles our mind. Okay, the entire number of particles in the universe is about 10 to the 80. That's the estimate that we have. Okay, and this is 800,000. That means this is 10 to the 800,000, not 10 to the 80. Okay, means 800 zeros. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the vastness of God's creation? That's why he says, no one knows the number of his soldiers except he. Okay, so we have no clue how vast God's creation is. And that's what we are trying to do in here. We're trying to worship God alone. And this is the best thing that could happen to us. This Friday, which is the night of Sabbath now, okay? And so we start our rest according to God's commandments. And then we just go accordingly, and we praise and glorify God constantly. We try to do that. And that's the important thing that could happen to us. But again, as I said, you said that, they don't pay attention to us. We also do the same thing. Sometimes we don't pay attention to those things. What the magnitude of this verse is, actually. How much information God is transmitting to us, and we just throw it away. We don't think of it. Okay? The people in Saudi Arabia, when they looked at the sea, they only see the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Okay? That's all they saw. Okay, so this one, 7 times this. That was fine at that time. Okay? But now we know how much water there is in the universe.
Yes.
It's the most abundant compound in the universe. Water is. Can you imagine that? And then God says he creates living things from water. Okay? That means the vastness of living things in the universe is absolutely mind-boggling.
It is. And to tell you the truth, Dr. Fazely, I thank you very much for, God inspired you, and you are sharing it with us by his grace, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But one thing really that made my brain spin was the understanding of al-wasi' that you mentioned.
Yes.
I think it's truly I don't know what to say, but it's beyond. It's even more powerful to me, at least in a sense that yes, God expands, but do we really understand what that expansion means? And when I see what you presented, I mean, all those pictures that you used from the NASA website,
Sorry, yeah.
and it's obvious. I mean, what else do we need? And yet, as God states in the Quran, a lot of people think that God is stingy and his hands are, how can I say, stingy.
Tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I thank you for that, because really I was thinking about this a lot when I saw this. And so I want just to mention this, Dr. Fazely, and let me know if my statement is correct or not. So I understand about the expansion. I understand about the most abundant elements in this creation. Compound.
Yeah.
But because on Earth, at least, we keep talking about, the drought, the this, the that, and lacking this and that. But actually, when we look at the big picture beyond this, there is nothing that is lacking. Nothing. It keeps expanding. It keeps adding. It keeps is just the balance, basically. So the is how to basically maintain the balance on Earth so that this expansion would benefit our creation on Earth. I'm just talking about Earth, not the whole thing. I went actually and I looked at this nebula, Orion Nebula, and it's even, I don't know what to say, but.
All right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Today we were talking about that today. Yes. Yeah. 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 I mean, but we also have to keep this in mind, okay? That since we are on Earth, and we really do not understand. Okay, I said that also matter is expanding too. It's not just the vacuum which is expanding. Okay, it's also matter is expanding too in the universe, and so when we look at that, we really don't know if the Earth is expanding or not, because see, our measurements are based on some yardstick that we have, and these yardsticks are meters and everything else that they stay the same. But we don't know if they are actually growing, because we are using the same meter stick or yardstick to measure things.
Yes.
And so if they are expanding with the same proportion, we never know that the object that we are measuring is actually expanded or not. Think about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's true. That's always a challenge, actually, even mentally.
Yeah.
To try to think of our mark sticks. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just think about it. You have a meter stick, and your meter stick is increasing, say, by 10%. Okay. But also the object that you're measuring is also increasing by 10%. You'll never know if that object increased or not, because your yardstick also increased too. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So so we have to be very careful with that. We don't know if that's actually doing that or not.
Yeah.
Okay?
I agree. Thank you so much, Dr. Fazely.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Salam Ali.
Walaikum salam, Jay. Yes, go ahead, please.
Question reference the math. Do you mind bringing that presentation up, the last page?
Sure. I'll bring it just in a second. Just a second. Okay. Okay.
Actually, the second page, where you added the 3252 plus the 3258, you get 6510.
Yes.
And then you get 609 quint prime.
Yeah. 6510 is a quint prime, and its index is 609.
Correct. Now, then you said that the 609 is the Taussine initials in chapter 27.
Yes.
Sin being 60 and Ta being 9.
Yeah.
If it's Ta Sin, then it's 960.
No, because it's written in Arabic.
Right.
Look at those numbers. You see, Arabic is written from right to left, so it's Ta Sin. So that means you got to put 9 after 60.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Otherwise it won't work.
Right. That's what I was thinking, and I was still wasn't getting it. So thank you for clearing it for me. And then the next line that you said, Surah 27 is the 9th initial chapter revealed.
Yeah.
Where is that connection to the above lines?
Right here. See? That table, you see index of TPC in TPC 9, index is 9, 85, 86, 27, 32, 52, 32, 58, 30, so 9, the chapter 9, or this surah, which is the 9th that was revealed, and the missing Bismillah is in 2730. Okay, it's the previous page. You see my screen here?
No, I do. So the 9th initial chapter revealed is connected to the index 9, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Clear it for me.
Okay, sure. Very good.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Welcome, Shakira. Yes, go ahead, please.
I was looking at these verses from Surah 40, verse 81. It is so much related to all the Jummahs that you tell, especially today. Because he says he continues to show his signs. And then which of them will you deny? Because right now we also learned so much about all those languages and how everything in vacuum and matter, which might appear dead, but it is not. Everything is alive. In some case, some kind of, some version of life that we cannot understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to call it life, you see, because when you say life, that's one state of existence, okay? We don't know what other states of existence actually exist. That's the problem, okay? So the two existence that we know is death and life, okay? That's all we know.
Yeah.
And we know that death is not good, okay? And we're all afraid of death. And the reason we are afraid of death, I talked about this before, because that is not part of God's attribute. You see? God never dies. Okay? So that's what it is. So it's actually you are completely far removed from God. And that's the state which is really scary. Okay? That's the key.
So whatever the states are, if they are not life, but the other states that we see around us of existence, they also have understanding or whatever it is that they understand God better than we do.
Of course.
Of course, all of them.
Yeah.
And then they are completely humble because we can sit on them, we can walk on them, we can build with them, we can throw them around, we can do all kinds of things, but we just take it for granted and do not actually understand that God has put them in our service and they are actually doing all of this simply to please God willingly. And then God is teaching us repeatedly the same things, telling us, I'm sending you messengers, I'm sending you signs, and why don't you go around the whole land? Okay, all the land is proof. You yourself are a walking proof. There's nothing but proofs. On top of that, you have this ultimate mathematics. So basically, there is nothing but all proofs everywhere. And then what is happening is that when the messengers went to them with proofs, they rejoiced in the knowledge that they already had. And this is exactly what they did, as you said, tales from the past. And then the arrogance, the pride of arrogance that they had in their hearts, All those things God is explaining, putting it out clearly to us to see this is what you should not do, because all the consequences and the future is already detailed also. Yeah. There's nothing that is left out in this book. You do this, you go to this way. And then God is also telling us that, I mean, today you said something which I actually knew about it. I did not pay, I don't know. I believed in it, but I would not say it out. But you said that we are surrounded by numbers and they are going to come at us. Yeah. Those numbers are going to hold us responsible. Our numbers, whatever is the sequences are, they are going to determine where we are going to go. And so basically, whatever rules that God has made, He will not break any of them. He's going to follow them. He's going to do all those commandments Himself because He is the truth. Yeah. So I think that what you said today is really something that, the becoming wiser basically means that you understand God better, that you feel closer to Him. You feel that the hereafter is a reality. Yeah. And that is what changes you, because without patience, you cannot achieve it. And all of these events that God is talking about, like you said, about the math, about 10 primes or Mersenne prime, any of those primes, or anything for any reason, there is a time for it. For anything and everything in your life, everybody's life, in anything. There's no difference in that. When that time comes, that's the only time. Like, I was thinking so much today of this Wagner and all kinds of these horrible groups that are satanic groups that are, I don't know, I'm sure you've read it, about how they go to the jails and thousands of prisoners they sign a contract saying that they will go and do exactly what they are told to do outside, murdering people and doing all kinds of in Russia. Or they're going to go and become, they're going to go fight. They're going to die, or they might not die, and then they will be free. And it was so horrific to actually see this, and then God is allowing it. Everybody says, why is God allowing it? God is not allowing it. You chose. Yep. And you can see, we can see right now that when we listen to you, these people today that are only 39 of us, we are very, very blessed that we have you in our midst, and listening to what God has to tell us to protect us and make us.
Let me just tell you this, okay? We read this last week, but again, we did not pay too much attention to it. But let me just go back to this. It's the okay. This is verse 27 of this chapter, okay? And in this actually, this talking about this believing Egyptian, okay? And says, a faithful man from the people of Pharaoh who was concealing his faith said, are you going to kill a man for saying that my Lord is God, when he has brought you proofs from your Lord? If he is a liar, he will suffer because of his lie. And if he is truthful, then you benefit from some of the promises to you. Indeed, God does not guide those who are transgressing liars. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, I don't understand it, okay? What am I supposed to gain from this, what I'm doing here and telling you about these things? Nothing, okay? But this has been systematically that somehow these people who are advocating God alone are liars. Okay? But they don't think that if that person is lying, that person is going to go to hell and burn for eternity for doing this. And that's exactly what this believing Egyptian is saying. He said he hasn't done anything. He's telling you your Lord is God. And is it a bad thing? And he's showing you proof. So what is the beef that you have with this man? And he's defending him. And so he goes on, okay? And he goes on, oh, my people, today you obviously have the kingship on the land. Then who is going to help you from God, from God's might, if it comes your way or our way? Okay. Pharaoh responded, you should only see it my way. Okay. I only guide you to the right path. So he claims that he is right in the right path. He didn't have any proof. He did have absolutely nothing. Okay. But his arrogance, and he sold that arrogance to the people. He disinformed people. He lied to people, but they took it. But he called those other people fake and liars, including Moses, okay, and tried to kill him. And this believing Egyptian comes, basically out in the open now and says, look, why are you doing this to this man? He hasn't done anything. Okay.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's the answer to the folks that, that somehow they think that there is some kind of trick here. There is no trick, okay? and so, we are looking at these things, and everything that we do is to extol God. That's all I'm doing here, and I'm trying to get this thing, all this understanding, and transmit it somehow to the people who are listening.
God has to help them.
Yeah.
And they have to make the choice. Thank you so much, Dr. Fazely.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or question observations?
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Fazely. This is Anwar.
Wa alaikum salam, Anwar. Yes, go ahead, please.
I just want to make a brief comment. What you mentioned in today's khutbah about about languages, for example, in the case of Solomon, and his gift by God to communicate with the birds, and his gift to listen to the ants, what they're talking about. I mean, it was just amazing, because it touched me very deeply, sir, because now that today we don't have the ability to speak to the birds, but the birds are still there, and they have their own behavior. They live in communities, and it's just that we are not able to communicate at their level, but it calls for a lot of respect, ceaseless respect for these creatures God has created all over, taking from the mosquito to any tiny insect that is there. It dawns upon us that these creatures are all, like you mentioned, all connected to God, and there's a communication that's happening that we are totally unaware of, and it's so beautiful. It changes your mindset. This is what I feel totally about it. But thank you so much for that. Thank you for listening, and it is absolutely mind-boggling. You're right. I mean, the idea of that the words of God will not run out. It's just amazing. Okay, because as I said, we think of words the way that we think of them, that we are only using words. And you look at the discussion that the Hoopoe had with Solomon. Okay, it was amazing. It was amazing. Okay, he's telling Solomon, "I know something you do not know." Wow,
that is amazing. Okay, he has a conversation with him, and he's not short of vocabulary.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's amazing, because he knows that the Queen of Sheba and her elders are actually idol worshippers, and they're not supposed to do that.
Wow.
Okay? And so that's what God says, the day that the witnesses are going to be brought forth. That bird is going to be the witness.
Yeah.
Okay? That ant is going to be the witness. The ant knew who Solomon was.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
That's what he says. That's what the ant says. The ant says Solomon and his army is going to trample us without knowing.
Wow.
Okay? That is amazing. Okay? So, all of these things that we see, now the extent of this vocabulary, how vast it is, we really have no clue. Okay? Yeah. As I said, these are the ones who are living creatures, okay? So they are part of this life and death type of state of existence. And then there are these other things that are totally different states of existence, okay? And we have no clue about that. And so those also God is communicating with them. So what language is he using to communicate with them? So what is the extent of the vocabulary? What do they use? What kind of grammar they use? Okay, all kinds of stuff. And that's why that verse is so, the dimensions of those verses is just so mind-boggling that we cannot even, fathom it with our own mind.
That's the right way.
Adds to the glory of God.
Not to mention the collective consciousness, the magnitude.
Exactly.
Of it.
Yeah.
The magnitude of it.
Yeah.
Glory be to God. Honestly, wow.
Yeah. Definitely.
Thank you,
definitely.
sir. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Fazely?
Yes.
Salaam alaikum, Dr. Jerry Shirley Genovese.
Yes, go ahead.
Alhamdulillah, just thank you for everything. This is all so mind-boggling. One other thing I was thinking about is that when you said that they were talking to the birds, and also the birds, not only were they speaking so that man could hear them, they also have their own language with their community. So the animals have more than one language they're speaking. Inshallah. Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Certainly, yes. Very good, very good. Are there any other comments or observational questions or any discussions? Okay, but I just want to go to the last two verses of this chapter because that's very important. As I said, the point is that God is telling us, stop dilly-dallying, okay? Because he says, but when their messengers went to them, this is 83, with proofs, okay, they rejoiced in the knowledge they already had. They stuck to the ground. And the very thing they ridiculed came back to haunt them, okay? So, and then he says, then once they saw our might, they said, we believe in God alone and reject what we used to set up as partners for him. Okay? Now, the reality hits them in the face now. The test is over, okay? And the reality is there, and they have to deal with the reality. They have no other option. So, however, their belief will not benefit them. Once they see our might, it's too late. You dilly-dally too long, and this is no way out now. Such is God's system, sunnatullah, okay, with which he deals with his servants, and the unfaithful shall end up losers. Okay? So these are really warnings that God is giving us, and so we have to do it as soon as possible. And God forbid if we revert somehow to go backwards, regress, that's even worse. Okay? That we go and gravitate towards the untruth, like the people of Pharaoh did. They gravitated towards a person who was not showing him proofs. He was not saying God is God. He was saying that he was God. Okay? Read chapter 79. Okay? He says, Ana Rabbukumul A'la. I am your Lord, the Most High. Okay? They gravitated towards him. So that if that happens to any one of us, that is really a tragedy. Okay? And so we have to be extremely careful. As I said, these verses at the end of this chapter are really testament to those kind of behavior that we could have. God forbid. Okay, everybody. So let's finish for tonight, and then we'll hear from you, inshallah, next week. We're going to start chapter 41 next week. Okay, and there's a lot of cosmology there, and we're going to discuss that inshallah next week. Okay, so let's do our al-Fatihas, two of them today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Okay, everybody, good night and God bless you and happy Sabbath, inshallah.